our bad deeds are decreased, our ranks are raised. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is not in need of your and my remembrance. Why? Because the zikr of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has been raised by the master of the universe, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The zikr of Rasulullah, the status of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has not been raised by any Maulvi, it has not been raised by any Peer, it has not been raised by any Sheikh, it has not been raised by any leader, it has not been raised by any politician, it has not been raised by any king of the world. The zikr of Rasulullah and the status of Rasulullah and the maqam of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has been raised by the king of the universe, the creator of the universe, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. Now say subhanallah. The youngsters are speaking, but the elders at the back are not speaking. Say subhanallah loudly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. Our Prophet, we have elevated for you, we have uplifted for you, we have raised for you, we have raised for you, laka for you, dhikrak, your dhikr. We have raised for you your dhikr. We have raised for you your remembrance. We have raised for you your status. Who is saying? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is saying? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The creator of the universe, the master of the universe, the owner of the universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we have elevated for you, we have raised for you your zikr. So the zikr of Rasulullah has been elevated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now the point that I want to touch upon is that in this verse of the Holy Quran, وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ, there is a very small word, laka. In English, if you look at it in simple meaning, it means for you. For you. The zikr of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has been raised by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَرَفَعْنَا ذِكْرَكَ, we have elevated your zikr. It was okay. Allah, the creator of the universe, the master of the universe, the owner of the universe, is raising the zikr of Rasulullah. Who can challenge? Who can deny? The zikr of Rasulullah has been elevated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَرَفَعْنَا, we have elevated laka, our Prophet, for you, zikrak, your zikr. For you, for your sake, for your pleasure, for your raza, we have elevated your zikr. Now you tell me, we are here in this world. You are here, I am here. Our aim and objective of life is to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. True or false? Aim and objective of life is to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our aim and objective of life is to gain the raza of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our aim and objective of life is to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our aim and objective of life is to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's my aim, that's your aim. True or false? If it isn't, then we need to think, where do we stand? This dunya is only temporary. Today we are here, tomorrow we shall be gone. Those people who fail to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are ruined in this world and also ruined in the world hereafter. Our aim of life is to gain the raza of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our aim of life is to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Approximately 124,000 prophets came in this world, from Adam alayhi salam up to Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. Each and every prophet said, oh Allah, we want your pleasure. Say subhanallah. Oh Allah, we want your pleasure. Adam alayhi salam said, oh Allah, I want your pleasure. Nuh alayhi salam said, oh Allah, I want your pleasure. Yaqub alayhi salam said, oh Allah, I want your pleasure. Hazrat Ayub alayhi salam said, oh Allah, I want your pleasure. Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salam said, oh Allah, I want your pleasure. Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam said, oh Allah, I want your pleasure. Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam said, oh Allah, I pleasure. Hazrat Musa alayhi salam said, oh Allah, I want your pleasure. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam said, oh Allah, I want your pleasure. Each and every prophet of Allah who came on this earth said, oh Allah, we want your pleasure. We want your raza. The angels, the malaika, they are saying, oh Allah, we want your pleasure. Jibreel says, oh Allah, we want your pleasure. Jibreel says, oh Allah, I want your pleasure. Mikael says, oh Allah, I want your pleasure. Israel says, oh Allah, I want your pleasure. The Munkar Nakir say, oh Allah, we want your pleasure. Karam and Katibin say, we want your pleasure. All the angels are saying, oh Allah, we want your pleasure. We want your raza. We want your happiness. The hoods of Jannah, the hoods of paradise, they are also saying, oh Allah, we want your pleasure. We want your raza. We want your happiness. The creations, all the creations of Allah, all the makhluqat of Allah are saying, oh Allah, we want your pleasure. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, oh my Muhammad, everyone wants my pleasure. Ana atlubu ridaka fiddarain. Oh Muhammad, I want your pleasure in this world and in the world hereafter. Everyone wants the pleasure of Allah. Everyone wants the raza of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, oh my Muhammad, everyone wants my raza. Everyone wants my pleasure. I, the Lord of the universe, is saying, I want your pleasure. Not only in this world, also in the world hereafter. I want your pleasure in this world and also in the world hereafter. Allah says in the Quran, وَلَسَوْفَ يُعْتِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى. O Prophet, very soon we shall give you so much that you shall become pleased. You shall become happy. The Sahaba asked, oh Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when are you going to become happy? How are you going to become happy? When are you going to become pleased? How are you going to become pleased? Rasulullah replied, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I am not going to become pleased until the last ummati of mine who is burning in the fire of hell is taken out of the fire of hell and granted the gardens of paradise. Oh Prophet, we have elevated for you your zikr, your remembrance. Now we are doing the zikr of Rasulullah. We are praising Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We are benefiting. I am benefiting. You are benefiting. We are sinful people. Most of our time is spent in doing wrong deeds. Most of our time is spent in doing guna. Most of our time is spent in doing actions which are against the teachings of Islam. We have this opportunity to sit here, do the zikr of Allah and the zikr of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, get our bad deeds eliminated and get our good deeds increased. We are benefited here today with the sadaqah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gives us all the ability to understand the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, understand the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, so that we can be successful in this world and also successful in the world hereafter. Once again, I am very grateful to Mir Tariqat Rahbar Shariat Hazrat Allama Sahibzada Mir Muhammad Tahir Chishti Sahib Rahmat Barakatuh Al-Qudsiyya, who once again remembered me and called me, ordered me to come into this gathering and participate in the form of speaking to the youngsters in the language of English about the dhikr of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept this gathering. Jazakallah wa ma alayna illa al-balagh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Muhammadur Rasulullah Sadaqallahu al-Azim. तमाम हज़रात एक मरतबा दुरूद शरीफ पढ़ें। सलात व सलाम अलैहि گرامی منزلت، ہماری مجلس اپنے پورے عروج پر ہے. آپ نے ابھی بیان سنا ینگ اسکالر، ایک عظیم انسان کا جو نوجوانوں کے اندر بے پناہ مقبولیت رکھتے ہیں. ایسٹ اور ویسٹ ہو، نارتھ اور ساؤتھ ہو. ابھی نیکسٹ سنڈے یہ جرمنی جا رہے ہیں میلاد مصطفیٰ کی مجلس سے خطاب کرنے کے لیے. اللہ تعالیٰ عزیز القدر حضرت علامہ صاحبزادہ پیر محمد عمران صاحب چشتی قادری عبدالی دامت برکاتہم القدسیہ کے علم و عمل عمر میں مزید برکت عطا فرمائے. میں اس مجلس میں ہمارے چیف پولیس ملک نوید صاحب تشریف لائے ہیں، میں ان کو بھی ویلکم کرتا ہوں. دیگر دوست بھی پولیس کے آئے ہیں، ابھی جلوس کو وہ مینیج کریں گے. ہماری اس مجلس کے مہمان خصوصی جو ہیں ترجمان اہل سنت، فخر السادات، مناظر اسلام، عالم نبیل، فاضل جلیل، فخر السادات، فخر العلماء، حضرت علامہ پیر سید ظفر اللہ شاہ صاحب دامت ذلہ، دامت عنایاتہ، دامت برکاتہم القدسیہ، جو ہماری اس مجلس کی رونق بنے ہیں. جو حضرات تکبیر ٹی وی دیکھتے ہیں انہوں نے ان کو دیکھا ہوگا، اور اتنا بے باک شخص، پاسبانے ناموس صحابہ اور روافض کے سامنے ایک سیسا پلائی دیوار جس کا نام سید ظفر اللہ شاہ، انہوں نے انتہائی کرم فرمایا. ہمارے سید الطاف حسین شاہ صاحب نے نعت سنائی، اور میرے درینہ کرم فرما حضرت علامہ مولانا ریاست علی صاحب قادری اور اخی الفاضل حضرت علامہ مولانا الحافظ و قاری محمد رفاق صاحب عدیل، جو جب بھی ہم انہیں بلاتے ہیں یہ لبیک کہتے ہیں. میں نے کئی مرتبہ دوستوں کو کہا ہے میں شخصیات کو دیکھا کرتا ہوں اور ان کے کریکٹر کو اور ان کے بیہیویئر کو اور ان کے مشکل میں کام آنے کو دیکھا کرتا ہوں. یہ جو دوست کہتے ہیں نا کہ نئے اس میں کوئی شک نہیں ہے، لیکن میرے سیدی و مرشدی نور نظر تاجدار گولڈا حضرت قبلہ بابو جی رحمت اللہ علیہ فرمایا کرتے تھے، ہندو ہیں بت پرست، مسلمان ہیں خدا پرست. ہندو ہیں بت پرست، مسلمان ہیں خدا پرست، ہم ان کے ہیں غلام جو ہیں آشنا پرست. یہ آشنائی بڑی چیز ہوتی ہے. میرا ویسے صدارتی خطبہ تھا اور صدارتی خطبہ سب سے آخر میں ہوتا ہے، لیکن میں نے اس بات کو مناسب نہیں سمجھا کہ حضرت قبلہ شاہ صاحب کے بعد کوئی لب کشائی کروں. میں نے ان سے اجازت لی ہے، صرف دو چار باتیں عرض کرتا ہوں اور اس کے بعد حضرت قبلہ شاہ صاحب کا خطاب ہوگا. خطاب کے بعد نماز ظہر ادا کریں گے، دعا ہوگی اور پھر جلوس کے لیے رواں ہو جائیں گے. جلوس کے اختتام پر جب آپ مسجد میں تشریف لائیں گے تو لنگر